Greetings and welcome to my viewers. This is Ron from Tarotofthetwinsun. This is a reading for the day of the 6th of April 2023, a full moon reading. and This is happening at the local time of 4:34 GMT. And we're looking here at essentially a chart for that day on the full moon. This is a general sort of forecast in terms of that. Now, one thing to note is a strong activation of the moon in Libra in terms of its placement of the sun and the sun's conjunction with Jupiter primarily, with a slight conjunction of Mercury, which you can see here. The interesting thing is that this opposition, which is a natural sort of outcome of the full moon, when the full moon occurs when the sun is opposite the moon, and its placement in Libra essentially activates the axis of what I would call faith within others, okay? Faith within others, meaning that with this month, and in particular within the full moon of the 6th of April, there is a strong inclination to define through the solar placement of Aries, okay, the solar placement of Aries, a sense of independence from others, especially. This points to conflicts between mothers and fathers, the opposition there, and essentially what becomes silhouetted is the realm of consciousness, pure consciousness, okay? Because that's what full moons do in terms of the sort of reflective quality, the brightness of the moon. There's a way of seeing it in terms of the esoteric realm, wherein the moon and its accentuation of Jupiter in opposition and the sun, the duality between masculine and feminine are strongly elicited here. Libra, I believe, is a cardinal sign, and it is in fact, it has a lot of masculine tendencies to it, though it is more ideological in nature. Okay, it has to do with the way we structure our thoughts, the way we balance out certain realms when it comes to especially the production of neurological capacities, okay? Connections in terms of that, balancing out the other, okay? Usually in the major arcana, it would be Libra symbolized through justice and the scales of justice and the sword of truth, right? The interesting thing is that the sword of truth also, it is symbolic of manas, which is the mind, the production of the mind in Vedic studies as well. There's something about it that is directly related to kama, which is desire, or the sense that you have to do something. So in this respect, it matches Aries, and the Fools, in the major arcana, the Fool matches justice, and that justice is here to balance out and sort of judge, if you will. It's not really judgment. It's more the sort of the approximation of karmic flow, different actions producing certain effects that weigh up in the general scheme of things. Now, the interesting thing is that with the sun placed here in Aries and the conjunction of Jupiter, there's an accentuation of action. We are trying to collectively, essentially being set into a mode of action that requires faith, that requires a leap of faith in terms of doing things independently, and also as a result of a reactive nature, okay, as a reaction to certain stimuli. And usually this would take place in terms of oppositions or squares, which I'm not seeing of right now. It mostly is this need to balance out, essentially, two halves of the whole when it comes to the functions of the brain, the left and the right side, the left and the right path, the hidden path, and the path of righteousness, okay? Also balancing out issues on gender or equality, anything that has to do with civic or civil dispute, We're thinking about justice here. We're thinking about also places of law and education and anywhere that has to do with the institutionalization of the flow of anything that is tied to, balancing out society. Okay, it becomes directly reflected in this impulse, this need to find peace. Become the peacemaker is here. Um, yeah, with also the conjunction to Chiron, which is the wounded healer, and the sun's energy, Jupiter's energy, Guru is watching over essentially what is going here. What takes precedence is actually the lesser degree and also the top degree, which is in Jupiter's placement in Aries. And this activation in the month of May, especially with the oncoming of spring, um, there's something about it that points to primarily a way of doing things in terms of complete independence, okay? And then having to check and balance that, having to check in with a mother figure, for example, and seeing that she has the intuitive force to actually balance you out in some way, shape, or form. Having to go out to peacemakers and making sure and checking your actions are right. But even then, because Jupiter holds higher degree as well as Chiron on a lesser degree of the Sun in this conjunction, there's a strong inclination towards paths of healing, okay, hidden paths of healing that come through the self-defining sort of way of doing things, wherein your faith, wherever it is placed, and it doesn't matter where it's placed, will be reactive in nature and actually go out to seek out relationships, that is through Libra, and these relationships will actually perceive through the collective actions of those who are watching, let's say, of you guys, and how you do things in terms of looking for Jupiter, looking for the higher way of doing things in terms of an expansive quality. With Jupiter in Aries, the harmony of fire brings forward dharmic possibilities, okay? This has to do with the unfolding of truth, of the expansion of the mind, of seeking out people who will guide the sun's energy into self-awareness, let's say. There also is a possibility here of Mercury very much activating a connection between Saturn in Pisces as well as Mars in Cancer. Now, when this activation occurs, some harmonious things will happen according to your actual, how you actually read things. Usually from the ascendant, you would count houses, and it would tell you, according to that many houses, away from, say, Jupiter, from Mars, from Mars, or from anything within this aspect here, from Mercury or from Saturn. You would count the houses counterclockwise until you get to the placement of whatever it is that you're searching for in terms of lessons to be had there. And this activation would show primarily an interesting thing. I think this transit that has been going on in terms of Taurus and Scorpio with the South and the North nodes there, Taurus's occupation of the North node and its conjunction to Uranus is finally starting to loosen up quite a bit. And the movement has been quite good, and I think this harmony with Mercury bringing forward essentially messages, okay? Messages within the Taurus complex, okay? The North Node being there's a collective desire to actually find a sense of stability. Now it is finally coming in terms of what that means. With the coming of spring, fruition is coming in terms of wealth. In terms of finding good food, I mean, generally speaking, there will be a lot of good food in terms of what's being available from agriculture and from what's coming through the collective economy. Hopefully this points to some sort of release or elation when it comes to what's being structured out there in terms of our dreams, our collective dream, okay? And this is all this is all sort of emanating and resonating within the realm of Saturn and Neptune with this strong energy here that is pushing forward in a positive way. This aspect is bringing forward the energy of Mercury conjunct the North Node in Taurus, which actually brings forward a connection between Saturn and Mercury that is quite harmonious in terms of bringing forward gifts primarily in a Taurian and a Piscean way. Saturn will provide essentially something on a collective level that has to do with our own drives and ambitions, what leads us into certain paths, our desires primarily. The North Node is also tied to technology and innovation in terms of that. The internet is very much tied to Rahu, the North Node, for example. And with this conjunction of Mercury there is a sense that there's stability, that there's something coming in terms of stability on a collective level for all of us. Furthermore, it is accentuated through our own actions, which has to do with attending to, with this triplicity here of this aspect from Saturn to Mars, and from Mars and Saturn into the aspect of the positive aspect of Mercury and the North Node. There is a strong indication here of primarily what I would call the bringing forward from the ether, from the houses of moksha, from the path of liberation, a sense of nourishment finally to Taurus, who's been extremely agitated. It's as if we can finally sacrifice to the bull as opposed sacrificing just sacrificing the bull. And it's no bullshit, really. I mean, I think there is something about the actions on a collective level when it comes to the motherly impulse that is occurring with Cancer. The divine guru that is manifesting through the karmic harbinger of Saturn in Pisces, and the interaction of these actually creating a very strong harmonic resonance in terms of our collective desires when it comes to technological advancement and the ability to come clear with messages through the internet about some sort of positive change. Okay, this has to do with the spirit realm as well, the sense of home and the sense of the infinite, the sense of home or the inner world, and the sense of the mystical. Essentially, something will be recalibrating Taurus's energy, and Taurus will finally become a happy camper for the time being. The North Node, particularly, with the stellium in Taurus, Mercury, the North Node, Uranus, which I've been harping on for quite some time now, and Venus, there is quite a bit that comes with sensuality, okay? That comes with a sense of grounded, slow moving, purposeful design when it comes to even modes of relaxation that are finally approaching with this new moon. Now, with the moon in Libra, it is something of a double-edged sword. There are two swords that are actually crossed, and usually this is emblematic of a sense of what we desire and how these desires can be illusory. Therefore, it's hard to choose within binary systems of a system of morality, let's say, of right or wrong during this time period. You tend to weigh out, and people will tend to weigh out, at least from their own inner world, when it comes to this full moon energy, ways of seeing things in terms of dark and light, positive or negative, right or wrong, black or white. There's something very gray about what is occurring here, and there's a possibility to see into the gradient of what is being projected, at least astrologically, for this time period. Furthermore, there's a sense that a transformation is happening on a collective level, the cusp of Aquarius, which Pluto is residing in, in a very small orb, but it's there. It's also on the cusp of karma. So what is being shown here, which is a very interesting thing, is a duplicitous way, a double way of seeing collective karma, which is the 10th house, and the 11th house energy of Aquarius, collective goals, ambitions, humanity. It's the collective sort of vision of humanity in terms of what they're trying to become within the Aquarian age, or the realm of the technologically advanced, the futuristic, the scientifically sort of projected in terms of our own cultural evolution, wherein this strange duplicity, this parallel, karma, parallel timeline. There's something here about what's going on in terms of this within the cusp division that points to primarily two things. One is a square, not a very strong degree square, but then also a very harmonious aspect here with Pluto to Venus in Taurus. Okay. Now, the interesting thing is that when Pluto is interacting with Venus, there's something about the way of free love, I would call it, or free transformation through the alchemy of the lower chakras that actually can produce the effect of something sensual, okay, without strings attached. Now, the interesting thing is that the square also squares up to this strong desire to essentially elicit more of Taurus's energy. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is that the dual modality of Aquarius and the Pluto energy in Aquarius is producing a very a layered effect, okay? A sort of ground or baseline, okay? In which two realities can spring from, or multiplicity can spring from. This has to do with different timelines, different ways of doing things in terms of jumping from place to place in time and space, okay? That actually can produce the effect of one of two things, but still activate the stellium in Taurus, okay? Now, the idea here is to see what it is truly that Taurus desires. Taurus is the grounded version of Venus. Venus has 2 points. It's the falling star and the rising star. And it is, through my understanding at least, that when we ascend, we approach more the 7th house. When we descend with Venus, we approach more the 2nd house. And with the 2nd house, there is a strong need to deal with family and suppressed issues that have to do with trauma that comes deeply layered in terms of the ground, wherein we can actually find out what has been sort of activating our 2nd house. Usually this has to do with trauma or some sort of block to success because of trauma from family, okay? And this square that is occurring between Pluto and the North Node conjunct Mercury in Taurus creates essentially a very interesting way in which you can find through the great teacher of Saturn something of a lesson. And this will actually, sort of push forward Taurus in such a way. I mean, it sucks because like Taurus has been being pushed. The energy of Taurus has been being pushed and sort of restricted in ways that, and bound really, in ways that have been extremely oppressive on a collective level. Now, this means that sensuality, the things that we normally enjoy, are being restricted because we do not have the finances to back up certain things. There's a certain lack mentality on a collective level that I have found it to be extremely daunting and quite indicative of what we truly need. The straining process, the sieving process that we have been through is actually a mode of purification. Meaning that we are shedding what we don't really need on a collective level in terms of, say, technology, in terms of the pleasure principle of what technology can give us. I'm talking about dopamine here. And the sort of fixation that we are programmed algorithmically to respond to on a collective level to produce the effect of building more technology and imbibing and going deeply into the capitalistic drives that push technology forward. We're talking about half-lives. We're talking about the sense that technology is actually producing an effect that affects us in terms of algorithms and their ability to trigger pleasure principles and essentially go into loops of infinite capitalistic ambition, in order to sustain our fixation to dopamine. So that's one thing. Another thing is that what we truly value is actually being grounded now in terms of the possibility to jump to another timeline. Okay, that's the beauty of Aquarius, is that Aquarius is actually a time traveling, a suspended sign. It's a very strange enigmatic poise that encompasses the 11th house, wherein through the hanged man we are suspended from our own realms of disbelief, okay? And there is a sense that faith or some sort of exquisite design comes through solar energy to provide for us a future or even a past and a negotiation between the two into a very much present place, okay? So it's extremely fascinating what's going on, at least for the time being. Now, on a collective level, in terms of our dreams, the Neptune energy in Pisces has been uh, pulsating for some time. And with this, there's something about a collective dream or an ambition in terms of our ability to deal with the realm of the ether and the realm of the astral, the realms of the astral, rather, and essentially find messages there on a collective level to define what we truly value in terms of the lack mentality that has been so much afflicting Taurus. I can't wait till this stellium is out of Taurus. I really don't like the placement of the North Node in Taurus, because with the North Node in Taurus, the bull rages, and it's been raging for quite some time. This is not like just like the bulls running in terms of a economic market or a way of measuring that. I think the general lack and the general sort of lack mentality that is being thrown upon us since post-pandemic is actually indicative of essentially how to reevaluate a system that does not work for us, at least on a collective level, in which currency and the transaction of wealth is being sort of held back in such a way. Now, currency is actually just another energetic form that can be shared or distributed in a certain way, because there's such a heavy block on it right now. And there's a tendency to hoard, as well as a tendency to really not try to spend anything at all. It actually gives us the breadth of wealth that we've needed during the pandemic to essentially reevaluate our own system and essentially come to value what truly really matters. I mean, the difficulty is that the sense of luxury, or the sense of the luxury of groundedness, has been extremely difficult, and Taurus has been sort of been going through fatigue for some time. Now that I see all these aspects and the realm of Taurus essentially being accentuated in such a positive way, I may think differently about it. There's something about it that comes to mind. It comes to a way of valuing things, and like it comes to a way of communicating in such a way that our desires are aligned with the chaos that's actually going on right now. So yeah, that's just a little check-in, full moon reading in terms of what I see as an astrologer for this month in particular during the full moon of the 6th of April 2023. Well, this is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun signing out. I do thank you for your time, and yeah, we'll see you around.